Hey, Chris Boschman made a comment on here, and I want to just throw this out there. He said Espey went down to 230, and his power was still there. Now I'm gonna say, Boschman, just because I still kicked your ass at 230 doesn't mean my power was still there. But I went down there. No, it wasn't there. It wasn't there at 240. At 270, it was probably still there, but at 240, it was not. Now I'm going to wait for a reaction from him because he's probably punching his computer right now. Sure. Cody Merritt, the best pound for pound would need to win is, I'm going to paraphrase here because there's a few typos. Sorry, Cody. The best pound for pound would need to own his weight class with zero argument, plus be really competitive in classes above his. So, yeah. So an argument could be made for Todd, but not a very strong one.
I'll make another argument. It just so happens that two of the better pound-for-pound arm wrestlers in North America reside in the same weight class. Well, not according to WAL, but realistically, and that's RVJ and Todd. The only one that can touch Todd is RVJ. The only one that can touch RVJ is Todd. Todd is more apt to pulling bigger guys because he's an arm-heavy, grinding puller. So he's the best pound for pound. You can say, well, he didn't beat Jerry. Should have beat Jerry. Destroyed Mask. Is Devin an elite super heavyweight puller to you? Yes, right, in your opinion?
You know, you could make a case that Devin has a stronger argument than Todd Hutchings. Because Devin went from a weight class where he was dominant, and now he is more competitive than Todd is in the supers.
Yeah. An underweight 6'5", filling out his frame. So it's not as dramatic as you make out. Todd Hutchings 5'10". Like, you have to take into consideration leverage and frame. Devin, although is semi-comfortable at light heavyweight, he's a super heavyweight. He's 6'6", 6'5.5". He's a super heavyweight that was underweight. Now he's filling out or whatever, but that's a super heavyweight. And whether you want to claim he's elite or not, he had to get desperately under the table to beat Todd. You have to look at all these things. Unfortunately, with WAL, you can't look at sheer results. You have to look at everything in between the cracks. He would have beat Devin if Devin stood up. He destroyed Mask. If the rules were spot on, he would have beat Jerry.
I don't know about that.
I don't know, man.
Jerry could be the champ in 2 weeks.
Would you pull Todd Hutchins' right arm for $20,000 of your own money?
I don't know if I'd pull anybody for $20,000, except for maybe yourself, for $20,000 of my own money.
$20,000 I'm coming in at 205 and you're getting beat with the right arm.
Brandon Justice says, I came in late with the question. The question is Todd Hutchings the best pound for pound? And it's evolved into who is the best pound for pound arm wrestler in North America? Adam Wilmot throws in Sam Harris.
Okay, that's another good argument because Sam's pulling Tony, but also Sam can get down to 150, 155. So at 155, is Sam as dangerous as Todd at 195? The answer is almost, but not quite. Sam can take losses in his weight class, even if his weight class is 154, with guys coming down in weight. He's probably a favorite to win it. I mean, we're talking he's a legit tier 4 puller, so he's definitely in the conversation. There's a lot of people in this conversation. Unfortunately, when it comes to pound for pound, it's mostly opinionated and speculation, and we pick our favorites and what we see and what we want to see. But Sam's in the conversation, RVJ's in the conversation, Justin's in the conversation. A lot of people are in the conversation. Anyone that holds a title is in the conversation. We haven't seen a puller like Todd in quite a while, and that includes John Brzezinski in his last 3, 4, 5 years was not like Todd. I don't know. I don't know, man.
I don't know about that, but okay. Well, we're just going to agree to disagree. Now this next question, it's a long one, and I haven't done my research on this one. I'm leaning on you to help out with this one, but Vladislav Krasovskis, a.k.a. Vlad the Destroyer, has had some very impressive wins lately. In June at the NAL in Arizona, he placed second at 176 on the right arm, first at 176 on the left, second at 209 on the right, first at 209 on the left arm, second in the 210 plus on the right arm, and third at 210 plus on the left arm. He also had one win on the right arm on Mike Aiello. More recently at the Latvian Armwrestling Cup third stage Tacoma Championship. He won first on the right arm in the open category, beating 2018's Lottie Tour 105 kilogram right arm winner, Cedric Sandris. My question is, what do you think of his impressive performances?
Yeah, I followed him.
And how do you think he would fare in a right arm super match against someone like Todd Hutchings?
I followed this guy since he was a junior. He has wins on Yanis, I believe. This guy's a 4, damn close to a 5. I mean, he's got it all. He's lean. He's like the European RBJ, a little bit smaller, but huge hand. Great back pressure, great side pressure, good bicep, fast as hell. He's got everything. Seems hungry. Of course he wouldn't. A better match would be Justin, or maybe because this guy, the last time I saw him pull up at the Worlds, I believe it was a 165 or 176 class. So it's not like he's walking around at 195 unless there's something I don't know. So a better question is, would he beat Justin? He probably would. But that's a good match. Craig Toulier, stuff like that. Todd, he wouldn't beat Todd. This is a he'd get put in a strap. He'd try to go high and get put in a strap and lose, or he'd go in a hook and lose. He would not beat Todd. Todd's one of the few North Americans, if maybe the only North American, that has the arm power to hang with the top elite Europeans. The only one. There's a couple of guys that come close, but he's the only one that can match the best, strongest arms in Europe under 230. He's the only one. That's why I'm such a fan of his, is because he has this incredible fucking engine that leaves the question, if the match stops, he can almost beat anyone. Now he can't beat anyone, but you can almost make the argument that he has super heavyweight elite arm strength. He lacks certain aspects in his hand and stuff like that, sure, but man, no, he wouldn't touch Todd. He wouldn't touch Todd.
No. When he beats Aiello after pulling a couple other classes, that's a legit win, I think. But I don't know if he's ready for Todd yet.
That's a legit win. But that's a legit win. We've seen stuff like that. You have to ask, how primed was Mike? How many matches did Mike have? How serious did Mike come in? Did he come off 2 weeks of rest, or did he train right through? We don't know. Mike's not a stamina guy, so maybe he had a couple big matches and he was down to 60-70%. Was the match won on speed? Was Mike not ready? Who was the ref? Like, there's so many variables to that. Too many unknowns. It's an impressive win for sure. But
so, Eric Rusin says Devin and Todd are the best pound for pound in North America.
Fuck that.
Well, you halfway agree with him.
Yeah, Todd is the best pound for pound puller in North America. Devin isn't even top 25. Don't forget, when I
top 25, I would put Devin right there with him.
When I'm giving you my opinion on not opinion on who's a wall contest, or who's on the wall roster, or how it equals a wall with the wall rules and stuff like that. When I'm giving my opinion, it's based on square up, rigid rules. Devin standing up, rigid rules, nowhere close to what people give him credit for lately. Nowhere close. Who can he beat if he stands up straight up? Who can he beat? We're going to see versus the Brazilian, but I believe he's not beating many elites.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about that matchup towards the end of the show. I think that's it keeps getting better. Yeah. Brandon Justice, who is a puller that neither of you would feel comfortable pulling. I don't know what the measurables are on that. Comfortable in that the style would be a nightmare. For me, it's Jerry, for sure. Now, just because the way I pull and the way he pulls don't really match up as good as they could, but I would have to, if I ever had another shot at him, I would completely change what I do and come in with a different game plan.
Yeah, that's a good question. The answer for me would be John Brown, or a John Brown template, meaning a puller that's very, 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 very controlled and patient and disciplined. If anyone who tries to rush the well, anyone, people in my tier that try to rush the pin versus me usually end up getting beaten. So, and I usually concede I concede movement or a position on the table to get my hook in. And if someone's able to sit on that with high hook or some kind of counter hook and just wait out till my side pressure bleeds out, like John Brown did. So for me, it's a super cerebral patient puller like John Brown. That to me is very, very, very tough. They never panic. They never beat themselves. And they force me to beat them in very, very, very vulnerable positions.
Yeah. Derek Smith says, how do Gobby and Simon Berochoa match up? Are you guys the same weight?
Same weight, same. There's a lot of. I think we're roughly the same height. He came into the sport earlier than me, and while he was in his peak, I was just coming up. So in his prime years, he would have beaten me. And plus, he's right dominant. His left doesn't even pull. I believe he broke his left arm in his first or second tournament. He pulled and never really did any left arm pulling. So the question is, how would we fare right? Maybe now that he's kind of more into the politics of arm wrestling and close to 50, maybe I beat him now, but maybe I don't. But he was always right dominant. In his peak, Simon in his best years and me at my best years, right arm, he goes through me like nothing. So there's your answer. Today, I don't know what would happen. I don't know how hungry. I don't know how trained. I don't know where he is in his stages right now. But in his best years, he goes through me easy.
Okay. Now we got Nick Smith. We got this. I was going to jump back, but I like this one. Chris, he says, if Todd versus Levan was to happen, Michael Todd, that is, who wins and why?
Again, if it's shitty wall rules, I pick Levan, but I pick Levan incredibly in an ugly fashion and something no one wants to see. If it's any league with rigid rules, Todd has no chance. No chance.
We're talking Michael Todd, not Todd Hutchings.
I give Todd Hutchings a better chance than Michael Todd against Levan if the rules are rigid. If the rules are rigid, we're talking where you can't automatically get the strap as you want. You cannot slip late and get the strap. We're not talking that. We're not talking your elbow can pop off the back. We're talking straight like wall rules, not wall. Excuse me, WAF rules, where everything is called. If everything is called, I give Todd Hutchings a better chance than Michael Todd versus Levan. But I give Michael no chance against him. Just like I don't really give Michael Todd and Devin much of a chance against any elite arm wrestler with rigid rules. Their move is designed for wish-washy reffing and lax rules. That's what they survive on. They need to get the strap. Once the strap is on, they need to get their elbow as back far on the pad as possible, teetering on coming off. And of course, WAF calls break arm. WAF calls shoulder under, shoulder below table in the losing position as a foul. WAL doesn't. So again, it's rule dependent.
Well, we're going to see in this weekend. We might not even be talking about it anymore. If Ongrabayev gets the win, then it's a completely different conversation. So it's got to be uncomfortable if you're Levan to be going in that heavily as the favorite, because people are looking for flaws, and if he loses that, it's a lot of pressure when you're that heavily favored, in my opinion.
The flaw with men that big is usually psychological, only because they're everywhere they go their whole life they've been pretty much the alpha male. They're favored in any physical altercation. When they walk into a bar, they're the ones that are mostly feared. So what happens is if they get into you're in this class as well. If you get stopped, if all of a sudden for the first time in any type of physical fight or altercation or arm wrestling match, you're a huge favorite and a smaller man stops you, and you got to the wheels start turning. You got to start questioning a lot of stuff, and you're in a position that you're not often in, battling something or grinding something out, because usually men that big don't really have to grind anything out. Everything is physically easy compared to everything else. So usually if there's a weak link, it's psychological. The question is, he's got to fucking stop the match and make him think. I don't know if he has that type of power. But.
Comment coming in, Cody Merritt says, Ryan, you are my most uncomfortable match because we are similar in style, but you have longer lever with better knuckles up pressure. Well, thanks, buddy. I can't say a bad word about Cody. He's my guy. Nick Smith, Ryan, how come you don't pull in WAL Super Series as much as others? Because I don't get the phone call as much as others. It's as simple as that. I was offered one match with Jerry that I took. I was offered the Matt Mask replacement on about 2 weeks' notice, which I had to turn down because, people still got to make money, and I have not received a call since then. In the next 2 weeks, if something happened between where Devin or Wagner somehow got injured, I would jump on an airplane and take that match. Back to the list, Gobby. We got Brandon Irwin.
Yep.
In your opinion, is arm wrestling better off as a professional sport, such as the NBA, NFL, ATP, etc., or as more underground type of sport with very tight subculture, such as ultra-endurance running, powerlifting, or Olympic weightlifting?
You want to take this one first, Ryan?
Well, it's interesting. Is it better off? I think there's more opportunity the more mainstream it becomes. I think that because of how people view strength sports in North America, it probably won't get to anywhere close to the level of any of those organizations that were mentioned. But maybe we can get as big as some of the niche sports that are out there right now. Maybe we can get as big as certain fighting styles that people see. So we have regular television programming and a decent amount of money. And I don't think that we should ever aspire to be mediocre. So are we better off as we grow? Absolutely. I think we should keep pushing for more and more and more. And it's going to come in peaks and valleys. It always has. I mean, ABC Wide World of Sports was the #1 rated show in the United States for many years with arm wrestling and from Petaluma, and then it fell off a little bit. Over the Top caused another surge, then it fell off a little bit. But I think that we have continued to grow, and arm wrestling has never been as popular, mostly thanks to social media and kind of piggybacking on maybe some other things in the World Arm Wrestling League, what they're doing here. But the question is, are we better off as one over the other? Clearly, we need to be. There's more opportunity, and we're all better off the bigger we are.
Yeah, I think the question is, opportunity, popularity, and money. So, in this fantasy theoretical world, obviously, we want arm wrestling to be NASCAR, NFL, because we're raking in the cash, and everyone and their fucking neighbors and kids are watching it. T-shirts, jerseys, all this stuff. So, obviously, the reality is, there's no chance in hell. There's so many issues that have to be fixed. So many errors, fundamental mistakes in our sport. A standard tournament lasts about 7.5 hours. I mean, there's so many things we got to fix and before it can ever even get close to that. And on its best day, we're looking at an underground sport that with long-term, consistent, profitable status. So I mean, I don't know, it's obviously the answer is bigger is better. TV wide, big networks, tons of cash. Who wouldn't want that? I mean, more exposure. I don't see a downside. There's no downside there. The question is, can it conceivably get there? That's the real question.
Well, the bigger the audience, the more money is there, and we're in a spot now where arm wrestling. I mean, there's 100 podcasts out there now, and a lot of them are pretty good, and people are starting to make some money off of the sport of arm wrestling. And I think that that's never been the case as much in the past as it is right now, where people are able to relate or turn this sport and their experience into something that actually can generate them some income. We've seen it with all sorts of different podcasts out there, and Travis has one that's growing at an alarming rate. And it's quite good.
No, he's awesome.
Kevin Kirk says, I could see it getting as big as maybe K1 or Glory Kickboxing. Exactly the path I was going down.